Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD. It's always
I don't know why I faded
JD.
out just really quickly. Michelle, we got to tell everybody right away.
Mm-hmm.
We may or may not be making the mistake of recording an episode in the middle of the day again.
Or are we making a mistake that will work out beautifully?
There's only one way to find out, and that's to plow on through. Guys, thank you so much
yeah.
for joining us. This is We Watch Shudder. If this is your first time tuning in, hi, We Watch Shudder. That's why we called it We Watch Shudder. Does that pretty much cover it, Michelle?
Yeah, totally. We were looking for a title, and you went, We Watch Shudder.
Oh, quick, you talk for a minute. I forgot to take my pills this morning. I'm going to take them while you tell everybody what's up.
I took my pills, and that's why this is going to be a fun daytime episode. But yeah, we watch Shudder. Shudder is a horror streaming platform for horror and horror adjacent movies, and we like to watch it. And we were going to talk about all the originals and exclusives they put out anyway, so we decided to record while we do that.
And here we are doing that. We're doing that very thing.
Should we just go ahead and get right into today's movie?
I think we should. Yeah, Michelle, side note, just quickly, if you notice a little bit of difficulty with JD's audio there in the first minute and a half of this, I think I got it all figured out. We should have that all taken care of. But yeah, let's talk about today's movie. The title of today's movie is From Black. And Michelle, if I remember correctly, you were somewhat excited over this for no other reason than because it stars Anna Camp. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. I love
Hey, my memory
Perfect.
is good.
I have seen her in things I did not like, though, so I'm not biased enough to say it's a perfect movie just because she's in it, but she, as a human, is somebody that I really, really like. So.
Awesome. So we like to start out sometimes by reading a description of the movie if we can get away with it directly from the Shudder website. Sometimes they're really spoilery, sometimes they're not. Michelle, I forgot to take a quick look ahead at this one. Did you happen to check it out?
Oh, I did, and both are very spoilery. The IMDb
All
one
right.
has a very, very long sentence, so we're not going to read either of them.
All
You
right,
want me
we'll
to
just
give
go
like
ahead
a
and-
quick one-sentence description off the top of my head?
Yeah, if you want to give it a shot, try not to be spoilery.
Oh, I know. A woman's son goes missing, and then she has the opportunity to bring him back, or does she?
Dun dun dun.
Dun,
A
dun,
Shudder exclusive original. A Shudder original from
You
Black.
did not read any of the stuff before we started.
No, I look. Here's a little peek behind the curtain. It's 12:13 p.m. Friday, April 28th in the Central Time Zone in the United States. We're recording this one at noon. I very literally rolled out of bed at about 9:45 to wake up, throw some caffeine in my blood, and throw this movie on, and then watch it. And now we're here to talk about it because one of us has to go on vacation.
Which
Meanwhile,
of us could
the other
that
one of us is
be?
going back to work.
I'll be working while on vacation. I'm a professional businesswoman.
Do you ever really work, Michelle?
I work so hard.
That was
to the
harsh.
point of
That was very
panic
harsh.
attacks.
I'm sorry. That was beyond
do work.
harsh.
Well, you know what might or might not work? This movie. Let's talk
It might.
about it.
Let's
what
do it,
are your
Michelle.
spoiler-free thoughts, JD?
My spoiler-free thoughts are this removie. Why? That's actually maybe not a bad name for it. This movie reminds me of another movie from about 7 years ago that I thought was significantly better. It does a lot of the things that we've talked about previously that are some of my biggest dislikes in horror movies. It deals with certain religious and spiritual sort of things. and the nature of reality and demons and monsters and all that sort of thing, and black magic, and it reminded me too much of another movie that I thought was much better, and thus I was not really able to get into this movie at any time whatsoever. It's competently made. I mean, it's a solid production. Everybody obviously put a lot of effort and whatnot into it, so I can't fault it in any way. Like I said, it just reminded me too much of that other thing that I thought was better, so I can't give this more than about... I'm going to go skull and a half on this one, off the top of my head, having just finished it.
Wow. Okay. A skull and a half from JD. This movie also reminded me of a dark song, except I thought this movie did it better. So
wow.
We are diametrically opposed there. I
would like to point out that I, at the very least, went out of my way to not name the movie here in the spoiler-free section. Michelle.
Well,
I don't think it
yeah,
matters.
but I was gonna say, I mean, we could use the exact same.
What happened there is I, in the heat of the moment, was like, oh no, because I'm usually the one who's more apt to let spoilers slip, right? So I'm like, oh no, should I even say what the name of the movie is? No, I shouldn't. And then you said it, and I was like, oh, I got a collar on it. And then I realized it really wouldn't matter if
the short description I gave could basically be the short description of a dark song. So if they haven't seen either, I mean that little bit that you know is the same.
We'll definitely talk about that more in detail when we get into the spoiler-free section. But how do you? So you thought this was much better? Where do you come down on the score on this one?
I'm gonna give it a 4. I liked this.
A 4, really?
And not even because of Anna Camp. Like I said, I have seen things that I did not enjoy her in.
4?
I liked this a lot.
Did we see the same movie, Michelle?
We're going to talk about it in the spoiler section.
From
Should we
Black,
go ahead and
right?
get in?
Directed by Thomas March Hayes, cast Anna Camp, John Ailes, Jennifer LaFleur, Travis Hammer. 2023 English 100 minutes on Shudder, just released today.
I accidentally rewatched Pitch Perfect.
Oh, okay. That makes perfect sense then.
Pitch Perfect would get
a sense.
Pitch Perfect would get a higher score than just a 4. So let's go ahead and get into spoilers, shall we? Because this one's going to be fun,
guys,
but I'm so tired that I won't be able to hold my own in the argument.
Yeah, that's we're both kind of rolling on fumes here and caffeine, but if you want to go check out the movie here before we dig into the deep spoilers, this is the time where you're going to want to hit the pause button and go check it out. Otherwise, Michelle, please, why don't we start with that little bit more detailed summary of what's going on in this movie for those who maybe didn't bother to go watch it.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you the summary of From Black, and keep in mind that this is still different from a dark song. So if you haven't seen a dark song, we're going to try to keep that as spoiler-free as possible. There's a lot of similarities, though. So From Black is about a woman named Cora, played by Anna Camp, and her son goes missing. And he went missing when she was getting high. So now she has a lot of guilt about what happened. And she meets a guy in a support group. And he says, I know a way to get your son back. And then somehow, for whatever reason, she trusts him and decides to do a weird ritual. And then they do the weird ritual, but she decides that she's not going to complete the ritual. And of course, as we expected, the man, Abel, was using her. So he was going to pass on this demon to her. And she was like, no. And she left the ritual. And then the demon comes back and she's like, yes. And then she finishes the ritual, and now her son's back. The end.
But also, she's now possessed by the demon and has to... There are a lot of elements borrowed from a lot of movies in this movie, even above and beyond the basic plotting of a dark song. But yeah, that more or less covers it. So let's... I don't know. So... I don't want to give away where the main similarities are between this. A Dark Song is a movie from 2016 or 2017. written and directed by a fellow named Liam Gavin. That movie is very similar to this in concept. It is about a woman who has lost her son and decides that she is going to resort to black magic ritual to try and get back in contact with her dead son. Is ultimately that's where the similarities are here, right down to the various parts of the ritual, from the purification and cleansing and the preparation of the house and this, that, and the other. Even a lot of the things that John Ailes' character Abel says in this movie are so reminiscent of the characters from A Dark Song. And it just and after the first act and the setup and that basic concept, this movie I do want to say is significantly different. Where it goes is much different. What it does is much different. I think the overall type of movie they're trying to be are different. I just thought this was to me the processed through Hollywood and mainstream horror formula version of what A Dark Song was. And famously, with A Dark Song, aside from one single element that I still struggle with every time I've seen the movie, and I've seen it I think 3 or 4 times now, I really enjoy that movie. I appreciate what kind of presentation it's making, what it's trying to say, also the realism of it, so far as I don't know how familiar anybody who's listening is with the Book of Abramelin and that sort of ritual magic and those processes, but is very authentic to that experience and the real ideas behind it and how they create the effects that they supposedly create. But this to me seemed like a more deliberately for the masses, more mainstream horror version. You got this, you start with that idea. We add in some elements of like The Ring or It Follows, where it's like a traveling curse. We add in some elements of even just the way the narrative plays out, where it's like we come in the aftermath of a thing, and then we learn about what's happened in retrospect. There's nothing about it that I realize I haven't even said anything really in a lot of great detail here. There's nothing about it that I particularly actively disliked or thought was bad, to the point that it made me actively against the movie. It just reminded me so much from start to finish of another movie that I thought was significantly better, and I could not get into it on any level.
I think it didn't bother me that it was so much like A Dark Song, because A Dark Song and this movie are doing a ritual that is a real ritual, if you believe in that kind of thing, which we'll not get into right now. But Aleister Crowley had attempted to perform this ritual, never completed it, and there's still a lot of people out there supposedly who attempt it. So to me, I was like, they're both doing this same kind of ritual, so I don't really care if they're similar, because it's based on a reality. So that's why there's so much of the same between the purification and preparing the house and things. It didn't really bother me in the way that it bothered you. One thing I will say is that I was trying to figure out how I felt putting it into words, because obviously we have a podcast and that is a thing that I have to do. And I think that this movie is basically a bookshelf with two beautiful bookends that you can't help but really enjoy. And you think these are very, very pretty bookends, but unfortunately, they're holding up a series of books that is fairly boring, and you've read it once and you will never read the series again. But you still keep the books on the bookshelf because the bookends that they came with are so beautiful, and you can't separate them. So I thought the beginning of this, I really, really liked it. I thought it was intriguing. The flashbacks in the beginning are very effective and bring you into the story. Then the middle does get very long and repetitive, and nothing really new or exciting happens. And I had figured out what the ending would be, that Abel would obviously be betraying her. There would be more strings attached to this than what was going on, because if a dude shows up and is just like, hey, I can bring your dead kid back, and you just agree with it, that's a bad sign. And she should not have done that, and I would not do that. But then that part happens, but then there's still a significant amount of movie left, and I did not know where it was going to go at the end and how it would wrap up. Like we said, there are a lot of similarities between A Dark Song, but this is definitely not the ending that A Dark Song had.
Oh, and certainly not. No,
They're
they're completely different movies in what they try to be and the kind of story they're telling. You're absolutely right about that.
Yep. So then when the part that I had predicted came true, but that whole scene where he meets her, in this alternative dimension or whatever you want to call it, that still played out differently than I expected. And it still wasn't what I thought was going to happen, which was he was sacrificing her to bring his child back or something along those lines. And he had tricked her, and he would live and she would die. Like, that's kind of the direction that I thought was going. And then so even my predictability of this movie was still slightly off, and then I was like, okay, cool, so it is doing something kind of different. The middle, like I said, kind of lulls a little bit. It goes on a little bit too much, and yeah, I just really like the beginning and the ending so much. I do feel like the ending was still somewhat abrupt and I could have used more, but sometimes that works out where if an ending makes me want more, that makes me like the movie more, because I have a lot of questions and I'll think about it. Like, what did he come back as? Was he okay? We never saw his face. Did he look like a corpse, but now he's alive? So I have a lot of questions about it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think where this movie again doesn't so much work for me, and that's an important way to describe it, is this is a flavor that is not my flavor, and we've talked about this before, where again, without trying to give too much away, A Dark Song, in fact I remember specifically, I believe it was when we saw a movie called The Cellar, and we talked about certain things and elements in that movie that are rooted in like Judeo-Christian spirituality and demonology and that sort of thing, and the difference between a movie that presents someone's experience versus presents a theory on reality, right? And that's the way I would describe this. A Dark Song is a movie that definitely takes you to some interesting places and leaves you asking a lot of questions about, like, what happened, what was real, what was not real. But the point of the movie is so much about that main character's experience, not about what was actually real or not. Whereas this movie presents, again, sort of more of a Judeo-Christian demonology, spirituality, sort of Western religion sort of concept as a fact of reality, right? Like, this is a thing that really exists. This is and that to me is just, I don't know. It's something that just isn't quite a flavor that typically works for me. I thought the themes of that other movie, of A Dark Song, were better. It was a better way to take this idea for my personal tastes. This one honestly felt like I hate to say it almost, but a little bit of my horror movie snob came out on this one as just like, oh, this is a dark song kind of boiled down for people who couldn't quite handle what was going on there or really wrap their brains around it. And then I was like, JD, calm down. A dark song wasn't really that complicated either to begin with. But no, that to me is kind of why this didn't work, is it's very much that presentation of a reality rooted in that kind of spirituality, and that stuff just, I don't know, it's not a part of my life, so it doesn't really connect with me in movie narrative at all.
I think what we can both agree is that people should go watch A Dark Song if they haven't.
Yes, and I like, because you and I have talked about this before. I in as spoiler-free way as possible, I do want to let you know there is a moment in that movie that will be a make or break moment for you. And I'll be honest, the first time I watched it, it broke it. But I've seen the movie now, like I said, at least 3, maybe 4 times. I have turned around on it. I really, really enjoy the movie, and I really think you should check it out. And for that matter, once you've seen it, you might as well check this one out too. You know, I mean, we're early in the game here, but on the Shudder website, it's right now got an aggregate 4 skull review. There are several very positive reviews here, even 5 skulls more than Michelle thought it was. There are several here that are not positive. In fact, even lower than my 1.5. So as always, you know, it's a well-made film. Like I said, a lot of I do want to say I thought Anna Camp and especially John Ailes were fantastic in this movie. I could have sworn I've seen John Ailes in something else. I went and looked at some of his credits just briefly. I didn't really give it a deep glance, but I don't recognize anything else I've seen him in, but I'll definitely be looking for that name more. Anna Camp was really good here. It's a well-made movie, just wasn't my ball game. So go check it out. You know, you may end up liking it, and check out A Dark Song too.
A Dark Song is available on Tubi and Plex. And Tubi
I don't want to...
It
just occurred to me that what I just said there was check out A Dark Song 2. What I meant to say is check out A Dark Song as well. There is, as far as I know, not A Dark Song number 2. Like a Dark Song part 2.
I'm really glad you clarified, because
A Dark Song 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Otherwise, our listeners might have heard you talking about A Dark Song from 2016, and then when they heard you say A Dark Song 2, they would have been like, wow, this whole time he's been talking about the sequel. So I'm really glad that you clarified.
And then they go to find it, and it doesn't exist.
I know. I almost went off
Sorry,
on a tangent,
guys.
but we're not going to do that. A Dark Song, Tubi and Plex. Tubi is where horror movies go to either die or be beloved. I've never seen a movie on there that I have felt very middle ground on. Check out Terror Train and Terror Train 2. They're both on Tubi, and they are delightful. And
hey,
some
Tubi
of the
is
best and worst
also
ways.
Tubi is also where we found Yellow Brick Road a few weeks back. So, you know, you never know what you're going to bump into on Tubi. So
if I see something on Tubi, I know that I am going to have an opinion one way or another. Usually it is not a good opinion, but sometimes it's a good opinion.
You got to wade through the dreck to find the gems, but they are definitely there.
There's a lot of dreck on there.
Michelle.
I think Lawmageddon was on Tubi for a long time, and that is a great movie that people should check out. And also, Karis Hell is on Tubi. So, you know, there's some really good gold out there on Tubi land.
Michelle has clearly gone off on a tangent here. I want to make it very clear. You should absolutely not waste your time with Karis Hell.
It's great.
This movie... You know what? I take that back. Go ahead. Go ahead. See what happens.
It has such bizarre stuff.
Maybe if Michelle convinces enough people to watch that movie, enough people will be mad at her about it that she'll stop trying to convince people to watch that movie.
When I die, my obituary is going to say that my one dying wish was for everyone in the world to watch Karis Hell. And then all of my loved ones will forever be plagued by either making that happen or feel guilt that they could not accomplish it. So I will create a little army, and all it will take is my own death. But luckily, by the time everybody watches Karis Hell, then my loved ones will also be able to do a ritual to bring me back. Or will they? That's a dark song, too. It's going to be my dark song, and the dark song that will be playing is definitely something by Taylor Swift. That's what's going to be what
shake it off.
Yes,
shake it off.
exactly. Shaking off
God.
the dirt as I crawl out of the ground. Not that I want to be buried, of course. Ugh, no.
So
Compost
this is
me,
what
turn me
happens
into a
when
diamond.
when we try to record an episode when we neither one of us have had enough sleep and we're on too much caffeine and we watched a movie and it's noon and Michelle, where are you going on your vacation?
I am going to Phoenix, Arizona, and I will
Why?
be visiting. Well, for one, it's to see my uncle who got me into horror movies, and I will be
Uncle
staying
Jeff!
in the room. Yeah, I will be staying in the room with a human skull that is haunted, and I love that room. And it's got a lot of taxidermy all around.
Yay.
It is my happy place. And I will be going to Bearizona while I'm down there, which is a bear reservation. And I have to go because of the name, but also because I love wildlife. And we might go to Out of Africa, which is my favorite Phoenix or / Arizona experience of all time. And we are definitely going to Chandler, Arizona, so I can go to the Perch Brewery, where you just hang out at a table and there's a parrot there at the table and you can just talk to the parrot while you hang out. I've got a packed itinerary.
Well, I'll be honest, being a dyed in the wool, born and bred North Dakota upper Midwesterner, when you said the Perch, what's it called? It's just called the Perch?
The Perch Brewery.
The Perch Brewery, I thought for sure it was going to have something to do with weird freshwater fish.
I'd hang out at a table and talk to a fish instead of a parrot.
Well, I don't think I would hang out at a table and talk to a fish instead of a parrot if that was possible too, because I'd be like, "Holy shit, this fish can talk."
Yeah, didn't you ever see Billy the Big Mouth singing bass? He could talk. He could actually sing. And in the next Pitch Perfect movie, I hear that both Anna Camp and Billy the Big Mouth Bass will be in it. He's got his own little solo. I'm very excited for that. Pitch Perfect, I don't know, 4 or 5? I don't know how many they're on now.
I don't know. You probably still got like a whole bunch of packing and preparation and stuff you got to do for this trip, don't you, Michelle? We should probably get to...
No, I don't have any packing left. Do you want to keep talking about birds and fish for a while?
Oh, for God's sake. No.
Social media.
Yeah,
We're on
check
socials.
us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's at We Watch Shudder on all those places. We got a website. It's wewatchshudder.com. We got an email address. It's mail@wewatchshudder.com. We got a whole lot of movies coming up that we're going to be checking out. Michelle, do we have a plan yet for next week, May the 5th? I know there was one thing that we were hoping to be able to get done, but we had to do some schedule shifting, and we're not going to be able to do that. And I know that there is no new drop coming next week, so what are we talking about?
Well, we did get a request from someone on Instagram.
Oh, did
and
we?
I hadn't talked to you about this yet. You've probably seen this movie, and you probably dislike it. Gonjiam. Have you seen it?
I'm sorry, what?
Gonjiam. Gonjiam.
I have not. That name is not familiar.
Ooh, well, maybe that should be our movie because it is both found footage and subtitled. Your favorite.
That's a Shudder movie?
Yes, it is. Or at least it's available in the Shudder catalog. And I would be delighted to hear you get very angry at this movie. Or surprise me, and then you love it.
It's called Gone Jim?
Gonjiam. Better still be on here. Yeah, Gone Jam Haunted Asylum.
I forgot the A. I was just putting in Gone Jim like a dude named Jim. It helps to pay attention when people spell things for you.
A possibility. My other suggestion was going to be Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is not on Shudder, but would delight me to discuss anyway.
I'm with it. Let's do Gone Jam Haunted Asylum.
Yes.
We'll
the first time I saw it, I
was
was in Phoenix, so it feels very appropriate that I will rewatch it when I'm in Phoenix, and then we will talk about it, and you'll probably spend a significant amount of that movie yelling. If this is your first time checking us out, check out Noroi the Curse that came out in October 2022, and it's still one of my favorite episodes.
All right, Michelle, this dog is going crazy over here. I don't know what the hell he's barking at, all excited and whatnot, but I better go see what this is all about. Say good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon, Michelle.